it's Hillary from the Red Brick Center for the Arts in Aspen, Colorado. I'm here to show you how to make a really fun treasure box, jewelry box, or just some kind of special little box to put something real small inside of. Here's one of the ones that I have made, and here's another one. It has a lid, and you can take it off, put something fun inside, maybe a pair of earrings or maybe something else. So the things you're going to need to make these fun little boxes are pretty simple. You are going to need a cardboard egg tray. A half size is fine, or a full size. You're going to need one of these. Definitely going to need some scissors. We're going to use that Elmer's glue for this project. And you're going to need a paintbrush and some watercolor paints or some other kind of paint. And you might decide later that you want some tape. So I hope that you want to get started and make this really fun project. I'm going to show you all the steps on how to do it. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing to do in this project is to start with the empty cardboard egg tray and some scissors. What we're going to do is first, in the middle, there are these pointy parts, and we're going to go as far down as they go here, and we're going to carefully put our scissor in and cut around. And so what we're doing is we're cutting off this middle part. Now you want to do this pretty slowly, because if you go too fast, you could tear the egg carton. You don't want to tear it, because then your part could be broken. So you end up with one of these cone-shaped things. So you're going to need to remove them, and then when you get that done, I'll show you what's next. So I have removed those pieces from the middle, and I'm just working with half of an egg carton right now. If you had a larger one, you could remove a couple more. But our next part here is to carefully cut out the part where the egg sits. So I'm going to get rid of this part on the side so that you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to cut here down the middle and up here like this. So I have one of those removed, and then I'm going to cut here, and I have another one removed. So to make one of these little boxes, you're going to need two of these parts where the egg sits. And if you look towards the bottom, at least on the egg carton I have, it looks kind of like a square. So what we're going to do is on the side, we're going to kind of cut around to remove all this jaggedy stuff. So I'm going around and around, and if you had a ruler, you could measure and see how tall this is. It's not a very tall piece right now. So when I take my ruler and I look, it's about ½ inch tall. So when you get this all cut around and you've removed all that extra part, that part is done. So I'm going to work on that with this piece, and then when I get that finished, I'll show you what's next. Okay, so what I have done here is I have this egg part, and I have cut around the outside edge of it to make it really nice and even without any of this rough part. And I have two different pieces here. One's going to be the bottom and one's going to be the top. Now I encourage you to cut 4 of these, or possibly 6, because this is a pretty small project and it's a lot more fun if you have multiples or more than one of these boxes when you're finished. So with these 2 examples here that I showed in the beginning, that would have needed 4, a top and a bottom for each. So when you finish that, you're going to be painting. Now I encourage you to paint the top and the sides maybe different than you paint the inside of your lid or the base. When you use watercolor paints with this kind of cardboard, what you want to make sure that you do is try to not use very much water. And then when you paint, you're going to go little by little with your brush, letting that water and that paint soak into the cardboard. If you go too quickly, you will not get a bright, vibrant color. So just go a little at a time, all the way around, and let it soak in. And sometimes you might notice that you want to or need to go back and do a second layer. So you could paint the middle there a different color, or you could leave it the same. One of the neat things about the watercolor paints is that the colors kind of blend. So if I put this lighter pink on the inside here and I touch the outside edge with it, or that darker pink, it kind of blends together and it ends up looking really pretty. So I'm going to work on painting the outside all the way around. I'm going to pick a couple colors. I'm going to paint the inside as well, and I'm going to do the same thing for the base. When I get that finished, I'll show you what's next. Okay, so I finished painting. So I have all of the top and the side and the inside done on this one, and the inside and the sides and the top done on this one. And really pay close attention that you got paint everywhere. Sometimes a common place to miss it is right along the edge. So put paint there too, so that you don't see the color from the egg carton. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you next how to put something like this on the very top of your box. So you'd have to decide which one's going to be the top. And then you're also going to need one of these pointy cones. This is what we cut out of the middle of the egg carton. It ran along the middle of the carton here. We cut it out right like that. So we're going to need one of these to make this flower. Now you could put anything on the top of your box, but for this one, I'm going to show you how I did this. So the first part that you're going to need to do is take one of these cones and you're going to turn it on its side, and we're going to cut it kind of in half. So you can actually push it down like that so you can get your scissors in, and then you're going to cut it across. We're going to be using this part, so this is extra. We're going to use this part. And what we're going to do is hold it so that the part that's skinnier is towards the bottom. And we're going to take our scissors and we're going to make some slits. So we're going to slit right where there's 4 sides here. It's kind of like a square. So we're going to slit right down, not all the way to the bottom. We're leaving about this much, not with a slit. So we're going to slit all the way around on those corners. And then we're going to go back and we're going to make a slit in the middle. So we're slitting in the corner and in the middle. So you make 8 cuts with your scissors. Then you're going to hold this like this and push these out. So when they push out like that, it starts to make it look kind of like a flower. But this is very rough looking. It's like a rectangle flower. So the way that I made this look like this was I went back, and on each one of these I very carefully held it and I tried to cut a little bit off of each one of these little rectangle slits so that it looked more like this shape, more like a petal. So I'll do one more of those where I'm holding it and I'm cutting, and then I cut a little bit more so I get it to look more like a petal shape instead of a rectangle shape. This is hard to do with big scissors, so if you have small scissors like I do, that's the best kind to use. I'm going to work on turning all these more like a petal shape, and when I get finished with that, I'll show you what's next. So what I've done is I've rounded off those rectangle looking slits and made it look more like a flower. And the next part is going to be making some leaves. I'd say 3 or 4 leaves. A nice part to use would be the lid, but if you do have paper attached to your lid, you're going to need to take that paper off, or just find part of your lid that doesn't have any paper on it. So I'm going to use this section here of my lid, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut some leaf shapes. So a leaf shape can really be any kind of shape, but I'm going to make mine kind of like a teardrop looking shape like that. And I'm gonna cut 3 different leaf shapes. And then the next thing you're gonna need after you finish your leaves is you're going to need a piece of egg carton that's like kind of a long rectangle piece. So here's my 3rd leaf shape. And then I'm gonna get that rectangle piece. I guess I don't really have enough to use out of this, so I can cut some more, but make sure that it doesn't have any paper on it. So I'm gonna take a little bit off of the other end of the box, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just cut some of that part that's molded off, and I'm cutting a strip out of the egg carton. So something kind of like that. And that's a little bit longer than I need it, so I can cut it a little shorter. And if I measure it, just so that you know, it's about 2 inches long, a little bit longer than that. But I have the parts that I'm going to use to make that flower. The next part you're going to need to work on is painting. When you work on painting your flower, think about how a flower really looks in real life. A lot of times a flower has a different color in the center than it does on the petals, or the petals on the inside look different than they do on the back. So on this one, I put yellow in the middle and then pink on my petals, and on the back I put a darker color of pink. So what you're going to do next is use your paints, work on painting your flower part, your leaves, and also this strip. Make sure that you paint the edges and the back of everything, so when you get done, all sides have paint on them. I'm going to work on that, and when I finish, I'll show you the next part. Alright, so I have my pieces painted and they're ready to put together or assemble. So I have my lid and the base. I'm going to set that base to the side. I don't need that right now. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to work with my Elmer's glue. And this is going to be something where we want to put it together and make sure that we like how it looks, and then it has to sit for a while to make it stay. One of the things to check is this strip and this middle piece. So if we put it next to it, if it seems like it's too tall, taller than the space you have in the middle, you can take your strip and cut it. Maybe cut it just a little thinner, because what we're going to do with this strip is we're going to roll it and then set it into the middle here. So I'm going to start with the leaves, and with those leaves I'm going to put some glue on my lid here in a few spots where I'd like some leaves. And a nice thing to do with these is to overlap them a little so that one can go down, and then you could put some glue on that leaf actually, and also on the lid, and then put the next one on right on top of it, just like that. And then I'm going to put my other leaf over here. The next part I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of glue right here in the middle. So I'm just going to kind of put it on just like that. That looks like plenty. So this piece here is still wet from the watercolor, but that's okay. I'm going to set that down right in the middle. And if my leaves are a little bit in the way, I can scoot them to the side. So that is set just like that. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to start by rolling it. So I'm going to roll it in my fingers, rolling, rolling, rolling till it's all rolled up. And I'm going to put a little bit more glue right in the middle there, not too much, a little just on the bottom of this. And I'm going to stick it in the middle and push it down all the way to the bottom. And it should stay there. If your roll is a little bit shorter, it might unroll a little bit, and that's okay. You can let it unroll a tiny bit too in the middle. Now if you'd like, you could also add those parts to the middle of the flower that stick up. So you could cut some of this a little thinner. You could put it in some pieces And if there's a little space in the middle of your roll, you could put some glue right there and see if you could stick a couple of these in. This is your chance to get really creative. See what you can come up with that might be a little different than what I came up with for how to make your flower look really original and really fun that will be on the top of your box. I'm going to need to let this dry for a while. While I do that, I'll get a couple things ready so that I can show you or explain at least how I made this kind of flower for the top of this box. Okay, this is so fun. So I have 3 different boxes here, and I showed you how to make this flower. I changed the middle a little bit on that one. I was going to explain how I did this. So remember those middle parts, the cone that came out of the center of the egg carton? The way I made these yellow round flowers was I took that cone and I cut off just the very tip of it. So what I did was I stuck my scissors in there and I just made a little slit, and then I cut very carefully all the way around. On this one I didn't squish the cone flat because I still wanted it to stay pretty round, so it's like that. And then when I had that piece, I painted it and I put it on my lid, just like that. So I cut 3 of those, so I needed 3 of those cones in order to get these like that. There's a flower in Colorado called Oregon grape. It grows on the ground in the woods, and it's blooming right now here in Aspen, Colorado. And I thought that these little yellow flowers reminded me a lot of the Oregon grape flowers. The leaf looks a little different than how I made it. It looks more like a holly leaf. So look for that when you're hiking in the woods. After this gets all put together, the next thing you need to do is wait for it to dry. When it's all dry, there's another step that I can show you so that your lid can be hinged or attached to your project. You could leave your lid so it's separate like this, or we can learn how to attach it with a hinge, kind of like this one. But first, things need to sit and dry. So I hope that you are having fun making these boxes, and try to make at least 2 or 3. And if you don't want to put flowers on the top, your creativity is the only thing that's going to stop you. You could put a rocket ship on top. You could make a bear to put on top. You could make just about anything out of this cardboard material, like a sculpture, and glue it together and put it on top of your lid. Don't leave your lid just blank. That would be not very creative and kind of boring. So I can't wait to show you the next step, but I have to wait because we're using Elmer's glue again. It's really the best. It soaks into the cardboard and makes your project nice and strong, but it requires that we wait. So when we're done waiting, I'll show you the next part. Okay, so I was going to show you how to make your lid hinge. It's really very simple. So you can leave your project so that the lid comes off, just like this one, and then you just carefully set it back on and put whatever you're going to put inside. Or you could have your lid hinge like this other one here. So the only part of the secret is there's a piece of blue tape. Do you see it there? I have tried this with the clear tape, and that doesn't seem to work as well. It doesn't bend as well. So if you would like to hinge your lid, if you have some masking tape or some blue painter's tape, you just need a little piece. So you take some tape like this, take a little piece. You can even cut it so it's not as wide, and then you would attach it just to the back of your box, right here, and then fold it all the way open and push right here in the middle like this to get the tape to really stick to both sides, and also fold right there, and then that lid stays attached. And there you go. So I hope that you have really enjoyed this project, and I can't wait to see what you decide to put on the top of your boxes. So make sure you take a picture and email a photo to the Red Brick, and we can see what you made. See you next time.